The day started like any other warm Tuesday in Savannah, yet this one had been marked on the family calendar in bold red letters for weeks. A mandatory family gathering at 7:00 p.m. in the Cedar House, signed off with my mother, Margaret Carter's usual tone, a mix of passive and aggressive urgency. I understood immediately what this meant. They had been waiting for this moment like vultures, circling for months. I drove into the packed driveway of my parents' historic Queen Anne residence in my 10-year-old Subaru, parking deliberately next to my brother Connor's polished black Range Rover. The message was clear to me. I glanced at my phone. 6:57 p.m. 3 new messages from my realtor, Bianca, appeared. Everything is finalized. Closing set for 9 a.m. Congratulations, Evelyn. I let myself smile softly, slipped the phone into my handbag, and stepped towards the double porch doors. Doors I had once sprinted through barefoot as a child. Before I could knock, the door opened. There stood my mother, Margaret Carter, pristine and icy, scrutinizing my outfit as if it posed a challenge to solve. Her gaze scanned my cotton dress and sensible sandals. "You're cutting it close," she said. "Good evening to you too, Mom." The parlor was already crowded. My father, pretending to be absorbed in The Economist, did not raise his eyes. Connor lounged across the fainting couch as if it were his throne. His wife, Paige, forced a tight smile but avoided eye contact. Connor muttered, without turning, "Didn't think you'd make it?" I took the stiff, upright chair. Naturally, the one facing everyone. Margaret then moved forward. Standing in the center of the room like a senator delivering grim news, she began, "Now that we are all gathered, we need to discuss the difficult situation." That word again, situation. That was how they described my leap of faith, leaving a 6-figure corporate job to create something on my own. They saw failure. I saw a beginning. Mom continued, her tone sharp and cold. "We realize you needed to get this entrepreneurial phase out of your system, as if it were a shameful ailment. But it has gone on long enough. You are becoming a disgrace to this family." I remained silent. Showing emotions in this house was a sign of weakness, and weakness was like blood in the water. The charity gala was scheduled in 3 weeks. Connor's wife, Paige, mentioned casually, "Everyone keeps asking what you do now." It's becoming uncomfortable to explain that my sister-in-law lives in a tiny place and drives a car with a dented bumper. Connor nodded, arms crossed. "Image matters here, Madison. You know we have discussed this thoroughly." Mom straightened up. "It is time to face reality. Your father called in a favor at Wellspring Capital. They are willing to overlook the break in your employment. You can begin in August," she added. Dad kept his eyes on the magazine resting in his lap, while Mom's gaze tightened. "We found you a suitable condo in the historic downtown area, far more fitting than the walk-up you have now." Paige smiled, lips curling. "And Michael Lambert is single?" She added, "He said he would love to reconnect. Of course, Michael once asked me to invest in his NFT startup, but I refused just before it went under." Then Mom, tapping her heel, asked, "Do you not have anything to say?" I opened my mouth, yet my phone buzzed. It was Marcus Reynolds, the realtor. "Excuse me," I said, picking up and pressing speaker. Marcus's voice came through clearly. "It's Carter. I am calling to confirm that you are now the sole owner of the Oglethorpe residences. All 300 units, including the penthouse where your family currently lives, are registered under your name. Shall I move forward with the rent adjustment plan we talked about?" There was silence. Paige gasped. Connor's jaw dropped. Dad peeked over his glasses, and Mom went pale. "But that is where we live," she whispered. "Yes," I answered calmly. "I understand, and now I own it," I said with a steady voice. "While you believed I was struggling, I was actually building. While you criticized me for being frugal, I was making strategic investments. They blinked in shock. Even as you mocked my small side hustle, I was quietly expanding a full-service property management firm, acquiring housing complexes across Savannah. The Oglethorpe Residences is the latest addition, and honestly, the most rewarding. Paige's voice faltered. But those buildings are worth millions. The funny thing about living below your means, I replied, standing tall, is that eventually your means surpass what anyone else expects. Turning back to Marcus, still on speaker, I said, "No rent changes for now. Let us reconvene tomorrow to discuss the renovation schedules. Of course, Miss Carter." "Congratulations again," I ended the call. Silence hung in the air. I said as I brushed my hand across my dress, "About that charity gala, I have reconsidered. Now that I am the new owner of the venue, I suppose I should make an appearance." Mom sank into Dad's chair as her composure crumbled. "Madison, I don't understand." "No?" I replied softly. "You never have, and that is exactly why we are here." I grabbed my handbag and headed to the door. "Pop-o, and that shoebox I live in. I actually own the entire building along with most of the block." Their expressions were stunned as I stepped onto the porch. My footsteps echoed against the marble. From behind me, Dad called Madison. "Wait." But I did not stop. I slipped into my reliable Subaru, smiling. Sometimes, the best revenge is quiet success, the kind they never saw coming. The following morning was clear and golden. From my true office on the top floor of Carter Square Tower. I sipped my coffee as Sarah slid a folder across my desk. "Your mom has called 6 times your sister. 4, your dad's assistant wants to have lunch. No messages." I said calmly, "Let them wonder. You need to explain yourself. We are family. You cannot just..." I let the message trail off, joining the long list of unread texts. Family. That word always seemed to matter most when they wanted something from me. A gentle knock broke my thoughts. "Miss Carter, the board is ready for you." I stood up, smoothing my charcoal gray blazer, sleek tailored and elegant designer, yet understated without loud logos. It was essential when attending the meetings in your building. As I entered the boardroom, the discussion abruptly stopped. 12 of Savannah's most influential real estate developers, all men and all older, turned their attention to me. What used to be seen as a curiosity had transformed into viewing me as a serious competitor. I addressed them, "Gentlemen," while taking the seat at the head of the long table. "Let us focus on the future of downtown." After 2 hours, we had signed 3 agreements. I walked away from the room with more than just contracts. I gained powerful leverage. As the others left, Marcus remained behind. "Your father's company reached out," he said cautiously. "They want to participate in the Riverside project." I smiled and replied, "Naturally they do. This development will completely change Savannah's skyline. Tell them all, proposals must follow the right channels. No special treatment because of family." He nodded thoughtfully but hesitated before adding, "There is another matter. Your sister's husband, Connor, has been trying to investigate your property assets." I looked out over the city, the rooftops, the river, the streets. A vast empire I now controlled more than anyone realized. "He will only find what I allow," I assured him. By mid-afternoon, my phone was overwhelmed with 30 missed calls, dozens of messages, and one intriguing email. It read, "Connor to his partners. I need information on Madison Carter's companies. Anything you can uncover." I promptly forwarded it to our legal team with a single note. Watch. At 3:07, Amanda finally sent a text. "Emergency family dinner tonight at 7 p.m. You must come." I answered, "For the first time today, I am free. No board meeting, no new acquisition. Just dinner with George Whitmore, Savannah's most respected." The most influential developer my mother had ever known spent countless years trying to make a connection, If you have ever been underestimated by those who were supposed to support you, keep watching. Madison is only beginning. Hit subscribe so you do not miss what unfolds when a family dinner turns into her executive meeting. The restaurant was the kind that offered no prices on its menu because if you had to ask, you clearly did not belong there. George Whitmore was already seated when I arrived. "Medicine," he greeted warmly as he stood up to welcome me. "I have been eagerly waiting for this. It is not every day someone builds an empire without me noticing." I smiled as I took my seat, accepting the wine list from the sommelier. "Sometimes the quietest moves prove to be the smartest," he said, eyeing me thoughtfully. "Your family appears stunned by your achievements. My son Connor, especially, seems very curious about how you managed to pull it off. Is that true?" I handed the list back, thinking he was only good at losing money on poorly planned condo flips. George laughed sincerely. He is not accustomed to hearing no, doing proper research, or turning a profit. The sommelier served a rich, dark red. George lifted his glass, toasting to new collaborations. I met his gaze and said, "That depends. Are you ready to discuss the Marina District project?" His brow lifted. "You have clearly done your homework. I make it my mission to notice what others overlook, including your funding needs after that unexpected environmental report. I might have a solution. For the next 2 hours, we talked about genuine business, not some social club. It was real conversation, not a show of fake wealth tactics. The capital was secured over dessert, and the outline of the deal was clear, one that would transform Savannah's waterfront and increase both of our fortunes significantly." His phone vibrated, and he glanced at it before grinning. "Your mother just invited me to dinner next week. She said her brilliant daughter will be there." "Let me guess," I said with a smirk. "You mean Amanda." He nodded. "Send my regrets. I will be in Singapore closing another deal." He shook my hand firmly. "You built this quietly, Madison. Now no one can overlook you." I thanked George, though, in truth, I felt grateful to those who had underestimated me, because that became a hidden strength. Outside, my driver was waiting beside a car that was nothing like the old Subaru my family still remembered. This one was a glossy black Mercedes, the kind I reserved for business meetings. As we drove off, my phone buzzed again. It was a message from Dad. "Madison, please, we need to talk." It does not have to be like this. We are family. My eyes fixed on that last phrase, family. They kept using it as if it was a shield, a way to escape responsibility. But for me, it meant being accountable, something they'd never demonstrated. I opened my laptop and pulled up the lease agreements for the Oglethorpe residences. It was time to go over the penthouse contract, my family's unit. Business was just business. I had learned that watching them, ruthless when it suited them. Now, that lesson was mine to own. They could have their emergency dinners. I had far bigger rooms to enter. 1 week later, I found myself standing in my office. The sunset set Savannah aglow with warm golden hues. Singapore had turned out to be a triumph, with 3 agreements finalized and 2 international partners now involved. Yet the tension in the air was undeniable. Sarah appeared at the door and announced, "Everyone is here." I confirmed with a nod as we entered the conference room. Present were your mother, father, Amanda, James, and Mr. Lambert. I hesitated before correcting her. No, Michael insisted on attending. He said it was a family matter. Naturally, my mother was still playing the matchmaker. If anything, my achievements had only strengthened her efforts. The room fell silent as I walked inside. The 12-foot ceilings, the sweeping panoramic views, and the table I had deliberately chosen to make a bold impression created an intense atmosphere. Mom sat rigid in her Chanel outfit. Dad looked exhausted but composed. Amanda clutched James as if to stay afloat, while Michael seemed puffed up with self-assurance that came from family pride. I took my seat at the head of the table and addressed them. Thank you all for coming. I understand there are concerns. My mother's lips tightened as she spoke. Concerns? You disappear, ignore us, and now you team up with George Whitmore. This isn't like you, Madison. I lifted an eyebrow and replied, Actually, Mother, this is exactly who I am. You just never noticed. James leaned forward, his tone sharp. Let us be clear. We have examined your companies closely, he stated sternly. Your corporate structures are intentionally complicated, involving multiple holding companies and offshore accounts. What exactly are you concealing? I maintained a calm demeanor and answered evenly, Nothing. I am simply safeguarding what belongs to me, something I learned a long time ago. I pressed the intercom and requested, Sarah, please bring in the auditors. The double door swung open to reveal two men in dark suits carrying thick folders, ready for the next phase. James's face paled as he muttered, What is this? He said sharply during an internal audit, I discovered several attempted intrusions into my company's systems over the past week, including your rather clumsy effort to access our servers. I opened a folder, recalling that Section 47B of your lease at Oglethorpe Residences explicitly prohibits corporate spying against the owner, and that owner is me. Amanda gasped, James, what have you done? Nothing illegal? He insisted I was safeguarding our family's interests. Your family's interests? I repeated, or your own. I allowed the silence to linger. Yes, James. I am aware of the gambling, the failing investments, the debts, the trust fund you have been depleting behind Amanda's back. Amanda looked at him with wide eyes. What is she implying? He's twisting the facts, he faltered. She's jealous. Jealous. She had to start from the bottom while you... I interrupted. I lived off Amanda's money and wasted millions. Enough, Mom. Madison snapped, Stop this! We are still family! I opened another file. Family, like when you pressured my tenants into ending their leases or contacted George Whitmore to sabotage the marina deal. Dad finally interjected, We were trying to protect you. You do not understand how this world operates. No, I declared, turning toward the window. You no longer do. I let the quiet hang before adding. While you wasted your time playing games, I created genuine influence. The deals you failed to complete, I secured. The clients you lost now belong to me. Michael Lambert spoke up at last. That is why we should have joined forces, Madison. We still can? I turned to face him. Confront him, and watch him lose money just like you always do, I said, my gaze fixed on Michael. Does your father know you are here? Does he know you tried to undermine the marina project? His face reddened. My father does not control me, I answered, but I could see it affected him. His mouth opened, but no words came out. One mention of your meddling, your attempted spying, and George would cut you off, as would your trust. Should I make that call? He fell silent. I pressed a button, and a hidden screen dropped down from the ceiling. Let me show you something. Slides appeared, financial statements, maps, project developments, details of ownership. This is what I built without inheritance or connections, just determination and strategy. Even my mother looked shaken by the figures. The Oglethorpe, I went on, was only the beginning. Today, I control more than half the commercial space in Savannah's business district, 3 high-end residential buildings, the Riverfront Project, and yes, George Whitmore's marina venture. Amanda's voice was faint, but she asked why I kept it a secret. Why allow everyone to believe I was failing? I looked at her seriously, seeing past every polished surface. I recognized it was not jealousy but fear. Fear of what I had become and what she might lose. You needed to face the truth, I said. Not only about me, but about yourselves. How quickly you dismissed me. how easily you measured success by appearances and rules that never suited me. I sat down and opened one last folder. Now it is time to decide. The Oglethorpe leases have expired. James is disqualified, his contract nullified. I slid the documents across the table, explaining, for the rest of you, new leases are at market value with no exceptions. You would not turn away your own family. I said calmly, I am giving you a choice. You can stay, but treat me as family. Real family. Not a pawn, not a project, but an equal. Silence filled the room except for the rustling of pages. I spoke softly to Amanda. There is a vacant position at Carter Holdings as Vice President of Client Relations. You are more than qualified. I locked eyes with her and added, and more importantly, you are far smarter than the limited role James and our parents kept you confined to. The job is yours if you want it. James began to object, but Amanda raised a hand, wanting to hear more. I nodded, then turned to Ded Goldman. Our company is not the only option, I said. My international division needs someone with your consulting background, not just controlling experience. He grabbed the contract and examined it carefully. Then I added with a small smile, the charity gala you cherish. The venue costs are covered forever. It is a lasting gift from one businesswoman to another. She blinked, clearly unsettled, her fingers touching her flawless makeup. I addressed James and Michael. You may leave. Your security clearances have been revoked. They raised their voices in objection, but my security team was already in place, calm and professional. To the others, I said, you have 24 hours to decide, not about jobs or leases, but about what kind of family we want to be. The kind that builds up or the kind that tears down. I gathered my papers. I have a dinner appointment with George Whitmore. Amanda, if you want to join us, you are welcome. We will discuss the details soon. As I approached the door, I heard a chair sliding back. Amanda quietly said, I'll grab my coat. Madison, my mother, called after me. Wait, that old car, the Honda, is it just for appearances? I stopped and looked back. No, that is genuinely my car because true success is not about the vehicle you own, but the things you create. The next morning, Sarah greeted me with a cup of coffee. Amanda agreed, your father is reviewing the contract, and your mother is waiting in the lobby. She said she wants to learn. I smiled and answered, then let's get started. Subscribe if you believe success is about redefining the rules and uplifting those around you. The journey is only beginning.